Clarity creates direction, but most people never slow down long enough to get clear. They move fast, they grind hard, they stay busy, but they're running in circles. And when you're running in circles, it doesn't matter how much energy you pour into it. You end up right where you started. You know why you're frustrated? Because deep down you feel like you should be further than where you are. You feel like your effort doesn't match your results. You feel like something is off, but you can't put your finger on it. And the truth is simple. You're not missing talent. You're not missing intelligence. You're missing clarity. See, clarity is the birthplace of momentum. Without it, your mind becomes a cluttered room. Everything's in there, but nothing's in the right place. You've got dreams stacked in one corner, insecurities sitting in the other, a few goals floating around somewhere in the middle, but no structure, no order, no ranking of what matters most. And when nothing is prioritized, everything feels urgent. When everything feels urgent, you get overwhelmed. And when you get overwhelmed, you shut down, procrastinate, avoid, and then blame yourself for not being consistent. It's not inconsistency, it's lack of clarity. Clarity gives you something powerful, it gives you a target. And when you have a target, your energy stops leaking into things that don't matter. You stop entertaining distractions because anything that doesn't push you toward that target becomes a waste of time. You start telling yourself, I'm not doing that, I'm not going there, I'm not picking up that phone, I'm not letting that person drain me. You become intentional. And intentional people are dangerous because they move differently. They don't wake up hoping for a good day. They create it. They don't wait for inspiration. They operate from purpose. They don't negotiate with their goals. They execute. But clarity doesn't come from thinking about your life. It comes from examining your life. You've got to ask yourself uncomfortable questions. What do I really want? Why do I want it? What am I willing to do for it? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? Who am I when nobody's watching? What patterns are holding me back? What excuses am I hiding behind? You cannot change what you refuse to name. Clarity requires honesty. The type of honesty that stings a little. You've got to confront your own truth instead of living off the story you keep telling yourself. Some people don't get clear because clarity forces responsibility. Once you know exactly what you want, you can't blame people anymore. You can't say the opportunity never came because clarity teaches you how to create your own opportunities. You can't say you didn't know what to do because clarity shows you the next step. You can't hide behind confusion because once you decide, confusion dies. And for a lot of people, confusion is comfortable. It's a shield. I don't know what I want sounds better than I'm scared to try. I'm still figuring it out sounds safer than I'm avoiding what I know I need to do. But you are too gifted to live in that fog. You weren't built for average. You weren't built for stuck. You weren't built to wander your whole life without direction. You were built to set a target, lock in, and move. The real reason you're not where you want to be is because your vision is blurry. You're trying to hit a target you can't see. And you can't hit what you can't see. You can't chase what you didn't define. You can't achieve what you never decided was yours. You've got goals, but you haven't broken them down. You've got dreams, but you haven't outlined the steps. You've got potential, but you haven't activated it through direction. You've got the hunger, but hunger without clarity becomes frustration. Hunger with clarity becomes power. Clarity isn't just about knowing what you want. It's about knowing what you don't want. You can't just write down your goals. You've got to write down your boundaries. You've got to know what doesn't fit your future. You've got to know what version of you cannot come along for where you're going. You've got to know which habits have to die. You've got to know which relationships are costing you more than they give. You've got to know which environments suffocate your growth. Every elevation requires separation. Not because you're better than anybody, but because clarity creates alignment, and not everybody is aligned with your assignment. You've got to get clear on your identity. Who are you when life gets hard? Who are you when things don't go your way? Who are you when distractions show up? Who are you when feelings fade? Clarity turns you into someone who doesn't rely on motivation. When you're clear, discipline becomes less painful because every sacrifice has meaning. Every early morning has purpose. Every late night has direction. Every no you get becomes an investment. Every moment of discomfort becomes a stepping stone instead of a setback. Clarity transforms your mindset from I have to into I'm built for this. And you don't need a perfect plan. You just need a clear one. People waste years waiting for perfect. They wait for the perfect timing, the perfect financial situation, the perfect confidence, the perfect opportunity. But clarity shows you that perfect is a trap. You don't need perfect conditions, you need a decision. You don't need more time, you need commitment. You don't need approval, you need direction. When you're clear, you realize the path doesn't appear before you move. The path appears because you moved. Clarity gives you the courage to take the first step, even when the steps after that aren't visible yet. Clarity forces you to upgrade your standards. You start expecting more from yourself. You stop settling for almost. You stop entertaining half effort. You stop believing your own excuses. You stop allowing comfort to negotiate your destiny. You stop accepting anything that doesn't align with the level you're stepping into. Clarity shows you that the life you want isn't built through occasional effort. It's built through consistent identity. Once you're clear on who you are and where you're going, every action starts lining up with that identity. You don't try to be disciplined. You become someone who is disciplined. You don't try to be focused. You become someone who is focused. It's who you are, not something you do occasionally. Clarity also brings peace. You stop comparing your life to everybody else's because you understand your lane. You stop chasing trends because you understand your mission. You stop letting society rush you because you understand your timing. When you're clear, you realize that progress is progress, fast or slow, loud or silent, dramatic or steady. Clarity allows you to appreciate growth you used to overlook. It helps you celebrate small wins because you recognize their place in the bigger picture. You become less reactive and more intentional. You stop moving from emotion and start moving from purpose. But you've got to give yourself permission to sit down, turn the noise off, and get clear. Not once, regularly. Clarity isn't something you find one time, it's something you maintain. Life changes, seasons change, priorities shift, and you've got to keep checking in with yourself. Are your goals still aligned with who you're becoming? Are your habits still supporting your vision? Are your daily actions reflecting your long-term purpose? Clarity is maintenance, and just like anything valuable, if you don't maintain it, it decays. Look, you're capable, you're talented. You have everything you need to build the life you want, but you're trying to win with fog-up vision. Take the time to clear the lens. Take the time to define the target. Take the time to align your actions with your purpose. You've been wandering long enough. You've been delaying long enough. You've been doubting long enough. It's time to lock in. It's time to get specific. It's time to get intentional. Once you get clear, everything else becomes possible. Get clear, then move. Direction drives discipline. But most people never understand this because they think discipline is something you magically wake up with. They think discipline is about being strong every day, feeling motivated every morning, having this superhero mentality where you never get tired, never get distracted, never get overwhelmed. But that's not how discipline works. Discipline is not a personality trait. Discipline is the natural byproduct of direction. When you know exactly where you're going, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop hesitating. You stop giving energy to things that don't belong in your life. You start moving different, and it's not because you suddenly became stronger. It's because your direction became clearer. People say, I need to be more disciplined. No, you need to be more directed. You need to know exactly what you're aiming for. You need to know what your life looks like if you win. You need a picture in your mind that's so real, so specific, so undeniably yours that it pulls you out of bed. Most people don't lack discipline. They lack a destination that means enough to them. If you don't know what you're chasing, then why in the world would you push yourself? Why would you wake up early? Why would you sacrifice comfort? Why would you cut off distractions? Why would you endure discomfort? When there is no direction, discipline feels like punishment. When there is direction, discipline becomes fuel. Think about it when you have somewhere important to be in life. Not a vague idea, not a maybe, not a someday, but a place you are determined to reach. You stop wasting time. You stop entertaining things that slow you down. You stop letting people pull you off track. You stop saying yes to things that drain you. Direction gives you something to protect. It gives you a future worth fighting for. And when you value your future, discipline becomes easier because now every decision has meaning. Discipline becomes difficult when life feels random. When your days have no structure, no purpose, no aim, the smallest task feels heavy. Waking up on time feels like a chore. Staying focused feels impossible. Every action feels like effort because you're not moving toward anything specific. But when you've decided on your direction, when you're locked in on a target, your energy organizes itself. Your mind organizes itself. Your priorities organize themselves. It's not about being perfect. It's about moving with intention. Direction creates a standard for your life. It forces you to measure everything against your goal. Is this helping me or hurting me? Is this building me or breaking me? Is this pushing me forward or pulling me back? That question alone will change the way you move. You stop needing people to push you because the direction itself becomes the push. The vision becomes the motivation. The goal becomes the accountability. You become your own reminder. People think discipline is built by trying harder. No, discipline is built by removing what weakens you. You can't grow stronger while you're still feeding your distractions. You can't grow discipline while you're still entertaining the habits that destroy your focus. You can't grow consistent while your environment is inconsistent. You cannot build discipline on top of chaos. Direction cuts out the chaos. It makes your yes stronger and your no louder. When you know where you're going, you stop living emotionally and start living intentionally. You stop waiting to feel like it. You stop letting your moods dictate your movements. You stop letting laziness win. When you have direction, you change the question from, do I want to do this? To, does this move me toward what I want? That shift right there is what discipline really is. Discipline is simply the choice to honor your direction, even when your feelings don't agree. Understand this, discipline is not about being in the mood to do hard things. Discipline is about doing what's required whether you feel like it or not. And the only way to do that consistently is to have a direction worth sacrificing for. You will never be disciplined about something you don't care deeply about. You will never stay committed to something that doesn't excite you, challenge you, stretch you, or call you to a higher level. Direction wakes up your fire. It wakes up your hunger. It wakes up your determination. When you're locked in on a direction, you don't give yourself as many options. You don't leave room for excuses. You don't leave space for unnecessary decisions. You don't negotiate with your goals. You create rules for your life. You create habits that match your destination. You create routines that support your future. People think routines are limiting, but when you have direction, routines are freedom. They free you from overthinking. They free you from wasting time. They free you from your own feelings. They create a path for you to follow even on days when your mind tries to distract you. Direction also forces you to identify the gaps in your behavior. When you have a clear direction, inconsistency becomes obvious. Procrastination becomes unacceptable. Laziness becomes uncomfortable. Distractions become annoying. Not because someone told you they're bad, but because you can feel the distance they create between you and your destination. When you're headed somewhere, everything that slows you down becomes your enemy. You can't chase the future while holding on to the past. You can't chase greatness while holding on to weakness. You can't chase purpose while holding on to comfort. But direction doesn't just strengthen discipline. It also reveals who you really are. When you're moving towards something, you discover your limits, your weaknesses, your fears, your patterns. You realize where you quit. You realize what triggers your procrastination. You realize what environments make you lazy. You realize what people drain your drive. Direction exposes the truth, and discipline is built by responding to that truth. You cannot fix what you refuse to face. You've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to examine your habits. You've got to confront your excuses. You've got to recognize how much time you waste. You've got to notice how often you let yourself off the hook. Self-awareness is a discipline multiplier. When you're aware of your patterns, you can redirect them. You can reshape them. You can rebuild them. Direction teaches you that discipline is not an act, it's an identity. When you know where you're going, you don't act disciplined. You become someone who is disciplined. It becomes part of you. It becomes how you operate. And once something becomes part of your identity, your behavior naturally aligns with it. You don't have to force it as much because you see yourself differently. You think differently. You move differently. You value your time differently. You value your energy differently. You value your future differently. Direction also teaches you that discipline is not supposed to feel good all the time. Growth is uncomfortable. Progress is uncomfortable. Elevation is uncomfortable. The problem is not discomfort. The problem is when you feel discomfort without direction. That's when life feels heavy. But when you know where you're going, discomfort becomes acceptable. It becomes part of the journey. It becomes something you expect. You don't run from it. You walk through it with purpose. Every single day you are training yourself. Every action builds either discipline or doubt. Every choice moves you closer to your direction or further from it. You're not just passing time, you're shaping your future. The scary thing is that most people are disciplined about the wrong things. They are disciplined in their distractions, disciplined in their excuses, disciplined in their bad habits, disciplined in their avoidance. They have mastered behaviors that pull them away from their direction. But once you lock in on the right direction, your discipline begins to shift. You start mastering the things that move you forward instead of the things that hold you back. Direction makes discipline meaningful. It turns the little daily actions into bricks you use to build the life you want. It helps you see that discipline isn't one big decision. It's 1,000 small decisions done with purpose. It's choosing growth when comfort is easier. It's choosing focus when distractions are louder. It's choosing effort when excuses feel tempting. Every choice becomes part of a bigger picture. Every moment becomes an opportunity to align with your direction. The truth is, you're capable of extreme discipline. You just haven't given yourself a direction worthy of that discipline. But once you do, once you lock in, once you decide what your future looks like, discipline stops being something you chase and becomes something you embody. Discipline becomes your edge. Discipline becomes your advantage. Discipline becomes your power. Because when you're directed, you're dangerous. You're consistent. You're focused. You're unstoppable. Direction drives discipline. Let that sink in. When you know where you're going, you'll do whatever it takes to get there. Discipline produces breakthroughs, but most people never experience that breakthrough because they quit right before it happens. They stop when it gets hard. They stop when it gets uncomfortable. They stop when the results don't show up fast enough. What they don't realize is that every breakthrough they're praying for, hoping for, dreaming about is sitting on the other side of consistent discipline. Not talent, not luck, not opportunity. Discipline, the quiet, unglamorous, repetitive discipline that doesn't get applause, doesn't get likes, doesn't get recognition, but it builds something inside you that nothing in this world can replace. When you stay disciplined, you build pressure, you build momentum, you build force. You build a level of internal strength that eventually becomes too powerful to be ignored. See, people think breakthroughs happen suddenly, like one big moment changes your whole life. But that's not how it works. Breakthroughs are slow at first. They start as whispers. They start as small changes you can barely see. They start as tiny wins you don't think matter. They start as subtle shifts in your mindset. They start deep inside before they ever show up on the outside. Discipline is the tool that keeps you going long enough for that invisible progress to become visible. Discipline is what flips the switch from potential to reality. Breakthroughs don't happen because you want them. Breakthroughs happen because you earned them. They happen because you stayed when others quit. They happen because you showed up when your feelings told you not to. They happen because you kept pushing when your mind told you to stop. They happen because you refused to accept anything less than what you were built for. The universe doesn't reward wishful thinking. It rewards consistent action. It rewards people who are willing to do what most won't. It rewards people who stay committed long enough to be transformed by the process. You've got to understand something. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is preparation. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you sharpen yourself. You stretch yourself. You strengthen the muscles you're going to need when the opportunity finally shows up. Most people pray for opportunities they're not prepared for. They want doors to open, but don't want to build the character required to walk through them. They want the blessing, but not the burden. The success, but not the sacrifice. The spotlight, but not the struggle. But discipline gives you the capacity to carry what you're asking for. Without discipline, even the things you want will crush you. Breakthroughs happen when who you want to be finally becomes more powerful than who you've been. That shift doesn't happen overnight. It's built through repetitive discipline. Every time you make yourself do the thing you don't want to do, you chip away at the weaker version of yourself. Every time you keep going when it would be easier to quit, you create a new identity. You're not just completing a task, you're rewiring your mindset. You're building a version of yourself that doesn't depend on motivation, doesn't depend on perfect circumstances, doesn't depend on someone else pushing you. Discipline forces you to become your own source of power. Breakthroughs require patience. And patience isn't just waiting, it's waiting while working, waiting while believing, waiting while grinding, waiting while staying consistent with actions that don't yet match the size of the dream. See, the space between where you are and where you want to be is filled with slow days, long nights, doubt, repetition, frustration, and small, uncelebrated victories. That space is where most people quit because it doesn't look like progress. But discipline reminds you that progress is happening even when you can't see it. Discipline whispers, keep going, keep moving. Something is building, and that voice becomes your anchor. Discipline produces breakthroughs because discipline forces you to master the basics. People want complexity. They want new ideas, new strategies, new shortcuts. But the truth is simple. The fundamentals create the future. Every successful person you admire mastered the basics and repeated them without getting bored. They didn't chase the next shiny thing. They chased consistency. They stayed patient with the process. They trusted the grind. They honored the routine. They became so good at the fundamentals that the breakthrough was inevitable. Breakthroughs also come from discipline because discipline creates resilience. When you push yourself daily, you learn how to navigate hard days. You learn how to handle pressure. You learn how to bounce back from setbacks. You learn how to operate through fatigue, frustration, and failure. Without discipline, you break easily. With discipline, you bend but don't break. You wobble but don't fall. You struggle but don't stop. You learn how to face difficulty without losing your identity. And when life hits you, and it will, discipline is what keeps you standing. Most people never reach their breakthrough because they discipline themselves only when things feel convenient. But discipline isn't built on convenience, it's built on commitment. Breakthroughs don't happen on days you feel good. They happen because you stayed disciplined on the days you felt nothing. The days when you were tired, the days when you were discouraged, the days when the world said no, the days when you questioned everything. That's where your breakthrough is forged. When you can move forward even in the darkness, even in the doubt, even when nothing makes sense. That's when you're becoming unstoppable. Breakthroughs happen because discipline gives you clarity in chaos. When life gets confusing, overwhelming, or unexpected, most people fall apart. They lose track of who they are and what they want. But when you've built discipline, you already know what your next step is, even when life is blurry. Discipline becomes your compass. It keeps you moving in the right direction even when the path isn't clear. It protects you from losing yourself in the noise. It gives you stability when everything else feels unstable. Discipline is what keeps you grounded long enough for the storm to pass. Breakthroughs also require sacrifice, and discipline is how you make those sacrifices without bitterness. When you're disciplined, you're not thinking about what you're losing. You're thinking about what you're building. You're thinking about the future version of yourself who's going to thank you. You're thinking about the life you're creating, the doors you're opening, the legacy you're forming. Discipline makes the sacrifice meaningful. Without discipline, sacrifice feels like suffering. With discipline, sacrifice feels like investment. You've got to stop waiting for the breakthrough and start building it. People sit around waiting for the perfect moment, the right opportunity, the magical feeling. But breakthroughs aren't found, they're produced. They're produced through repetition. They're produced through focus. They're produced through self-control. They're produced through daily decisions that nobody claps for. They're produced through discipline applied over time. Breakthroughs aren't accidents, they're outcomes. And let me tell you something, discipline makes you dangerous. When you're disciplined, you don't fear obstacles, you don't fear hard work, you don't fear competition, you don't fear setbacks. You've already trained for all of it. You've already built yourself through repetition, sacrifice, and consistency. You're not hoping to win, you're prepared to win. Discipline turns you into someone who doesn't need to be lucky, doesn't need to be seen, doesn't need to be chosen. You choose yourself because you've built the version of you who deserves the breakthrough. Breakthroughs are not loud, they're earned in silence. While others sleep, you're working. While others complain, you're improving. While others post for validation, you're practicing for mastery. While others wait for motivation, you act with purpose. Every quiet moment of discipline becomes a brick in the foundation of your breakthrough. And one day, all that invisible work becomes undeniable. People will say it happened overnight, but you'll know the truth. You'll know how many nights you stayed consistent. You'll know how much pressure you carried. You'll know the discipline it took to get here. Discipline produces breakthroughs because it changes you before the breakthrough arrives. That's the real secret. Discipline prepares your character. It sharpens your mindset. It elevates your identity. It strips away your excuses. It kills your laziness. It breaks the chains of your old habits. It forges a new version of you who can handle the success, the responsibility, the pressure, and the opportunity that comes with the breakthrough. The breakthrough is not the reward. The person you become through discipline is the reward. You've got to understand that the version of you who started this journey is not the version of you who will finish it. Discipline transforms you. Discipline shapes you. Discipline builds you. When the breakthrough finally arrives, it won't be surprising. It will be confirmation of who you became. The discipline you practice today is building the strength you'll need tomorrow. The discipline you practice tomorrow will build the life you want next year. Every day matters. Every action matters. Every choice matters. Stay disciplined long enough and everything changes. The breakthrough will come, not because you hoped for it, but because you built it.